Letters! One word. The meaning of life! Yeah. How we doing? Previously on Kimba TV. Okay, so we've been looking at 92, 89, 85 for quite some time. We've also been looking at 102, 99.6, 98.4, and you know, all of these other zones as well. So it starts with identifying levels. So you just gotta take it for what it is. And you're telling me that on this wick up into the formation of the failed auction, you had a $53 million top long. You remember that 53 mil long? Yeah, there you go. So it's levels, structure, open interest, and then CVD divergence, right? We called it. It doesn't really get any, that's a trifecta of everything that we usually look for, brother. Yo!
Let's get it, killer. What's poppin'?
Happy Monday! All right, we got like an hour, maybe a little bit less before US markets open. How we doing? Oh, yeah. Juicy juice. Juicy fruit. A kachoya. I'm juicy. How we doing? 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 So if you're constantly, if you catch yourself trying to be like, I wonder what the recap is, always hit me with a specific question. It'll help you learn and get better a lot faster. All right, but hidden bull div, naked point of control. I actually thought that we would have a gap to the downside, meaning that the derivatives would have pumped over the weekend. But it's level to level, right? So, I mean, I guess we're long from here. Were you paying attention on Friday? So this is the level that we marked out on Friday. This is a level that we marked out on Friday. So make sure you have levels to the downside, levels to the upside. So this was marked Friday. This was marked Friday. These single prints, and then the VWAP that if it does break out, it has to turn into support. We talked about that on Friday. And where is our sort of target for the long? Again, this is from Friday, that. So levels to the upside would be that. Maybe daily open. Daily open always kind of fucks around. I asked you guys if you can see it, but you know, you had point of control, right, from Friday. Pixel perfect golden pocket. All right, and then the other cluster with its own sort of volume, you know, cluster right here. See, point of control, point of control, point of control. See all that? That's your support cluster from Friday, right? So I would assume you're either in a short from Friday, or the weekend, or you're in a long. Hopefully, you know, you were able to figure that out yourself, because that's like 5th grade stuff. Now we're gonna start talking about order flow and who's trapped. And I mean, you guys know that the shorts are trapped, right? Well, I don't even know where my exo went. I guess they're not trapped yet, but anything above the 99.9, yeah, you would have about 100 million or whatever in shorts trapped. Oh, I guess I'm closed. Yeah, so like 60 million in shorts. All right. But it's Monday, so I will wait to see what the RTH gap looks like. And yeah, that's about it. All right, I hope that helps. But that what we just went over isn't really a plan or a recap. That's just shift from last week. What we need to do is we need to, correctly interpret Bugammas and monitor this. It's CPI week. You guys know that, right? So how do I always execute CPI week? I prioritize Bugammas, right? And I'm trying to get into a position today or tomorrow so that if we're wrong on Wednesday, we just get stopped out. None of the naked point of control and the golden pocket hasn't changed since Friday. The VWAP has changed, but it's just been trending down. The single prints haven't changed. The support clusters haven't changed. So it really didn't do anything over the weekend. It just kind of bing bong ding dong, huh? There's a couple of things that I want to do. I want to add a little bit more to AR. If we do get down here, I have that alert set, right? There's a couple that I might want, it broke out of value area high, and I want to add on the value area high retest. So, did you move your stops up at all since we moved up to 4K? Yeah, do you remember when we did this TA? So, I actually added a tiny bit more. I would have added a whole bunch more had I gotten all of that. But I got filled for a tiny, I added a little bit more. I think I added maybe another, it was more than what I closed. So maybe 600 or 700 here. I would have probably added another 4,000, 3,000 ETH long here. So yeah, now, any sort of revisiting of this zone, I would probably start to close, at least this one. Yeah, so conceptually speaking, yes, LPZ, because this box was like an ad. So yes. How do you feel about scaling or pyramiding? No, I mean, you should try it somehow, some way. Fred, dude, my dumb ass figures out a way to fuck it up. So I would much rather just do it the way that I do and be like, all right, I'm going to wait for X and then execute. Yeah. And I won't really, I don't know. It's for me, Fred. It's like a fancy way to excuse myself to kind of gamba again and use the unrealized profits as an excuse to say, hey, I can take more aggressiveness, a more aggressive mentality to this position, and it's not a good turnout. Triple J says, what's your thoughts of Pixel touching Friday's market closed yesterday after CME opened, then dump right after? Weekend. Yeah, just normal weekend shenanigans. I think all it did was just kind of clean the highs and lows over the weekend. But as you get closer to market open, you got Pixel Perfect, Golden Pocket, first level of support. You have now gotten above VWAP. Remember where our next level of resistance was? Daily open, and then right there. But this, I would just say that this is all going to get cleaned. So this theoretically is your TP1 for this long, just like how it was on Friday. However, given the context of how we get there, I think the high is going to get cleaned this week too. So Guru says, this 30-minute candle so beautiful. Yeah. 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 Yeah, shout outs to everybody that was here for the 15-second alpha TA. What do you think about all this? Structure looks good. Naked point of control. We Gucci. I mean, like even right now, it's you know, at the baby point of control, which is why the candle closed like that. But let's see what the reaction is at daily open. Nice little Monday. You heard me? Grizzly says squeeze. Yeah. So I mean, ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the things that we say? We like to identify levels, right? Big point of control, confluencing with math. Roger that. Identify levels. Get all those point of controls right there. Okay. Identify the level. All right. Next. Hidden CVD bull div. Yes. Higher low, lower low. All right. Higher high, lower low, hidden CVD bull div. So you have your divergence. You have open interest. There's your 200 million in shorts. There you go. I knew it was there somewhere. So you've got about 190 million in shorts that are about to be, pretty much all of them are about to be underwater pretty soon here. It was the, right? Yeah, I mean, they're all underwater basically. You know what I'm saying? They're always underwater. Young Soon, why you short? And then, so, I mean, everything just kind of lines up, you know what I mean? And it's the same shit. I didn't take this long right here. Market smash for me here. I have started to really prefer like the structure breakout confirmation, invalidation right there, than trying to put a blind limit right here and I don't know where the stop loss is, you know. This one at least you know. And let's see if we can get above daily open, and let's see if we can get there, and then let's see what the reaction is here. I would hope that it's not a good high, and then we can clean everything up. Coke Zero says, knowing CME trades at a premium, what is your average from futures to CME? I'm doing 750 to 800. Yeah, I mean, I think you've been here long enough, Coke Zero, to know that I'm actually doing a lot of my trades on CME now, right? Hence why I'm charting so dominantly on CME, but it's actually my 1 year anniversary of doing my first CME trade. Do you guys remember my first CME trade last year? It was the first week of December of last year too. So it's my 1 year anniversary actually of me opening trades on CME. I ended up doing like the full on KYC, AML, and corporate structuring and whatnot, so I can trade through an investment LLC, like a family fund, I guess, if you will, of my own money. And so that took a little bit, but that was completed about 4 or 5 months ago. And so now, like, I'm actually trading, you know, a couple milli. Gotta be testnet. But yeah, I mean, I would say like $800 to $1,000 premium. You're still gonna have to look for like naked point of controls and single prints. And what I would do is, instead of going from CME directly to derivatives, I would go CME, Coinbase, and then derivatives. So I would put the spot and how much spot is trading at a premium. I would inject this data point before I decide where I want to long or short on derivatives. Yeah. Especially when Coinbase does shit like pixel fuck 92,000 on a $10,000 wick. Oh, look at that. Look at this pullback. Yeah. So I hope that helped, Jupiter. If you really wanted to take a long, you've got basic definitions, like if it really is a sweep, whether it's a 30-minute or 1 hour or whatever, you wouldn't spend time below the golden pocket. All right. And then this becomes valid when you break the 5-minute structure. All right. So some people are like, because you can do the opposite of what we do sometimes. Some people will do blind limits and do that. Okay. Some people will wait to see the reaction and they'll do this, because if you're really bullish, you can't stop here. Right? So some people are going to wait for it to get to 886 or the 7.5, and they're going to look for a bullish retest, and they'll get in right here. And their stop loss is this fucker right here. Okay, so you've got aggressive. This is the second aggressive. The third would be to actually have the structure change and then get in on this pullback. This would be a little bit better. But you've got to wait, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get a pullback. Sometimes if it's really bullish, it's going to bounce at the 382 or 0.5. So you have to figure out which one is what you want to go with. Luckily, since you're the one that's in control and you know exactly what your position size would be, you can run hypotheticals, right? And even better, you can do something like what I do. You can use 3 different exchanges that each adhere to its own aggressive protocols. Right? So you've got one exchange that will get in here. You got one exchange that'll get in here, and you got one exchange that'll get in here. And then you've got one exchange that'll get out here, one exchange that'll get out here, and one exchange that'll get out here. And maybe after a month or 2 months or 3 months, you're going to be able to see which strategy is making you more money. And you just go with that, because there's other things that are involved, like how much, and a lot of this decision-making process is going to be in your subconscious, and you're not going to really even know. So the best thing to do is always to continue to try different things, quantify the results, and just go with whichever way makes you the most amount of money. I've already done that, and I continue to do that. So that's how you see, oh shit, like he's shifting to more altcoins, or he's shaving a little bit quicker than he used to before, et cetera, et cetera. I've got my sort of higher time frame plan, and I have my daily sort of scalps, right? Jupiter, I don't know if you heard, but I'm going to start doing some daily altcoin, S&P, and Bitcoin scalping. So I've been really getting into what's the trade or the plan for the day type of shit, But any other questions, Jupiter? Yeah, man. Yeah, so like, are you looking for a long? Are you already in a long? Talk to me. Do you understand that you can get into a long from here? You can get into a long from here, and you can wait until the value area low is turned into support, because it would be hella funny, if it just does some shit like this. And really just continue to take shots and see what it do. All right. Jupiter, nobody help him. Jupiter, when we talk about structural edge, can you list the 3 edges that I like in order, Jupiter? When we talk about structural edge, can you list and in order the 3 edges that I like from a structural standpoint? Do you know what they are, Jupiter? And it's okay if you don't. Structural edge, correct. Yeah, so what's the most bearish or the bullish edge that I like? What's the second most bullish or bearish edge that I like? No, structural. So it's not CVD, that's divergence edge. Yeah, I'm talking about structure, Jupiter. So let me just help you. Shadow actually helped you right there. So structural, CVD, and open interest, right? Those are the categories. But specifically, structure-wise, what do I like? So I like swing fail pattern, right? Right? But so it didn't swing fail. But if it doesn't swing fail, then what's the next one that I like? So swing fail is first. What's the next one that I like after a swing fail? What's the next one, chat? Isn't it a failed auction, y'all? Right? Okay. And then what's the third one that I like? 3 drives. Yeah. So even though we didn't get a swing fail, perhaps we are on the verge of what? So do you understand why people, it's not just a Fibonacci play, why somebody might look for something like that? So I can't predict the future. Holy fuck, I wish I could, my guy. Don't we all? But all I can do is kind of anticipate and wait. Okay? All I can do is just have it do. Like I don't want to be in the camp of let's try to predict the future and just gamble and bet on what it's going to do. I'm going to let those people place their bets right now. But with time and structure change, we're going to see who is starting to win. And then you have a little bit of a better edge on who actually will win. And if you really think about, for example, on a hypothetical long, if you really think about the TP, it doesn't matter, if your long entry is 97.6 or 97.8, right? Or even 98. Does the $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 on the entry really matter to you? If you're looking for a $3,000, $4,000 move, I will always be willing to sacrifice a couple $100 on my entry if it means that I can gain another 5-10% on the probability that my trade is actually going to work. So it's all kind of up to you on where your risk appetite is. And like I said, honestly, if you can understand what the fuck I just said, and then you can man up and figure out whatever it is that you want to do comes with its own inherent risks, I'm always going to root for you. There's nothing wrong inherently with taking that long on that 7.5. And some of y'all might have a 97.650 long entry. You're disgusting. And I mean that in a good way. You're sick. You're a little bit degenerate, but I love that. And you knew that you were taking a little bit of a risk. And the biggest, most important thing is that if it didn't work and if you got immediately filled and if you got stopped out, you weren't going to cry or bitch or moan or complain about it. You would have just acknowledged that you took it a ridiculously high risk position and it didn't work out. And it's not like you went all in, so you wouldn't be bummed out. So as long as you don't get emotionally compromised, that's the biggest L right there, that emotional loss. So as long as you're not going to get emotionally compromised, and I don't give a shit where you want to take your shots, and just understanding what is high risk and low risk. That's it. So, yeah, if for me, Jupiter, to just kind of go full circle, it would be a lot safer for me to just take, I'm willing to market smash value area low if it wants to go. But it's a little bit risky. You know how I always say that if you're longing Bitcoin, you're longing S&P, especially on a week like today. That's very apparent today. So I would say that if you're longing this, there's a little bit of you that's also betting that S&P is going to break through 60, 70. Maybe S&P does its own little failed auction. You never know. All right. Yeah. But you're definitely, I wouldn't be shorting here. It would have been nice to grab this, Maybe like something like this. Let's see how much time it actually spends above blue line. And even from like a 5th grade math standpoint, we can see if it just changes structure, and we can go with the failed auction play. So, but I hope that made sense. So there's going to be lions that are just absolutely thirsting for a long from here. There's absolute lions that are thirsting for this. You know, some people might have gone filled right there. You know, some people are going to wait for 886 and they want the 886 golden pocket retracement. You know, some people want the structure change golden pocket retracement. You know, so lots of time. But for me, it's just kind of mathing right now, and it's kind of inconclusive. So a lot of work to do. Yeah. But if, for example, later on down the road, you know that I don't even have to say it. If this actually starts to do some shit like this, and it's getting upward momentum, and we start to see shorts trapped again, then that's worthy of a market long. And really the question, it's not really about like, are you going to market smash, or are you going to wait for it? What is your invalidation? That would be the question. Because if you're going to wait for something like this, and your stop loss is going to be this, then you might as well market smash, and your stop loss is here anyways. You're just paying the extra fees just in case this doesn't come back, you know? But if you market smash and it does this and it does this, you have to understand that you're gonna have to stomach that. So it's kind of up to you on what the probabilities are. Tone Emp says, when you say you put stop loss at break even profit right from the start, does this mean you market smash on the way you expect it to go? No. So do I put stop loss right from the get-go? No. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. What is basic strategy, chat? When does the basic strategy suggest that you should move your stop loss to break even? When the 5-minute structure changes. So like in this case, for example, if you took that 7.5 long, technically your stop loss is still here until you break that high. That's just basic strategy, 5th grade TA. Okay, now obviously, there are going to be individualistic variables that come into play. So for example, let's say that you've been losing all weekend and you are actually down and you're not playing with profits. Well, depending on, like seeing this 5-minute candle close right now, you should move it up into stop loss break even. I don't think you can afford to let the green trade go red. If this 5-minute candle close had stopped at the 0.5, I think you would still be able to keep it right there. But based off of how this is going and how we talked about how maybe S&P is going to do its own thing, I think you're putting your stop loss at break even now. Okay, so there are individualistic things that kind of come into play. But if you want to go strictly by the book, then your stop loss is still here until it makes a higher high. Sounds good? But remember, basic strategy is there for you to build upon. You shouldn't be a 6-month, 8-month, 1-year, 2-year lion and still going by the book. I would assume you've had enough sample size, you've had enough experience, you've seen enough shit with your own 2 eyes to be able to start adjusting. All right. And again, like this is another prime example of where you could have 3 exchanges. All of them have the .75 long. Okay. On one exchange, you closed the whole thing or shaved at its 7.5. Okay. On the other one, you got stopped out on the 0.5. And on the other one, you have your stop loss here. Okay. Which brings me to my last point. When I say stop loss at break even, you can actually execute it in many different ways and still have it break even, right? So for example, you could have entered here, but you went, let's say for example, you usually do 10 Bitcoin, but you went an extra 10 Bitcoin instead, and you closed that extra position at the mathematical TP1. So right now, since you shaved there, you can put your stop loss still right here. And even though it did this, you still had stop loss at break even, right? If you're watching me, whether I'm showing my position live or you're gonna see my position on the VIP YouTube, you might be thinking, what the fuck? Like, why is this entry here and his stop loss here? Doesn't he say always put your stop loss at break even? I already closed one exchange, all of it right there. So yes, overall, the one that you're watching, I'm gonna just keep it here, and yes, it is still break even. But a lot of the lion cubs don't understand that. Okay? So when I say things like put your stop loss at break even, there's the literal interpretation, and then there's the little bit more of a higher thinking interpretation. Does that make sense? So you could open up 3 of the exact same longs. On one of them, you shave or you TP the whole thing. On another one, you TP and stop loss and profit behind the 382 or the DA5. And the other one, you do basic strategy and see how it culminates. But if you have those 3 all hit, then it should still be a net positive, right? Yeah. So you got to try different things and see what would be the best for you. But that's it. This game is really just a matter of effort, in my opinion. You know, the people that are like always looking for that's why like you never want to tell a kid, and shout outs to everybody that has kids, and shout outs to a lot of people like me that are maybe in the near future might have kids, but you don't want to praise anybody for being smart. You always want to praise them for the effort, because in real life, when it matters the most in hyper competitive environments such as this, the effort matters. You feel me? So that's it. But the people that are always trying to do the bare minimum, buy an indicator or an algo or a bot that'll tell them what to do, go to a signals group where somebody just tells them what to do, they're always the ones that end up losing. You know, and it's purely just lack of effort. And it really just works out naturally because they don't really truly care. They don't want it. They don't want it as bad as somebody else. And so it's just Darwinian concepts in play. All right. So, you know, some of these things might not make sense, you know, VWAP, TPO, you might not have all the tools that I have, but eventually if you just put in and lock in on the idea that you're going to be trying to improve and learn something new every day, that you have good risk management, the money will take care of itself. So peanut, like around the 88 cents marker, okay? But nothing blind. We got to be able to see it. I would want to try that here, I think. Ape, we got a long ways to go. We wanted the dollar, but probably this VWAP's already moving up pretty high up. So got to be looking more around $1.20 probably. With none of this has changed. The alert is set for the $2.50 mark, but what I really want is that setup right there. You know, the daily and the naked point and the golden pocket and the VWAP. So the VWAP is always going to be where it is, just nice confluence, everything else. And then link, same thing. So it's actually gonna, I want it to probably pierce through and do a trident around here as well. But naked point of control daily, it'll pierce through VWAP. That's okay because we've seen it do that. So I'm not too worried about that. And this is kind of what we'll be looking at. Again, nothing blind. And this is a little bit tricky because this is going to be a point of control long. It's not going to be a value area high retest. So I'm going to try spot. I'm not a Jedi like you. No, I'm not a Jedi like, I don't know. I mean, because I don't know if I'm going to be stopped out on this, you know, but not too shabby. Everybody can pull fibs. And especially if you were here when I did all the TA live, nothing too crazy. So it's pretty, you know, the naked point of control is cool, but the VWAP is really what has to hold. So unfortunately for me, I might have to put stop loss like right in front of the entry, right in front of this, you know, before the 7.5, and just kind of wake up to probably a bank. Fuck. Hopefully not though. Same thing with Rune. If you were here for this, if you saw me do this TA live, I'm not really doing anything too difficult. So yeah, but I think spot would be amazing. Canada noob. Especially the out of Peanut, Ape, and Whiff and Link. Peanut and Whiff, since these are the shit coins, in an ironic twist, have the most amount of ROI possibility. Ape is a little bit and then Link, we've seen it do many, but that being said, it's a little bit more easier to trade Link, I think, because of fundamentals, whereas Peanut and all the other shit coins are just kind of more volume, impulse tracking. I'm leverage trading needs work. I really want to buy a tool, but not sure. I need help finding levels. Have you already won on KCEX, Canada Noob? Everybody that won the giveaway today, I think you should have it around midnight. So about 4 more hours. All right. If you're a giveaway winner, I think 4 more hours. VWAP. Naked point of control. Naked point of control, single print. All right. Higher time frame VWAPs, but this is the one. So this, pause. Well, these levels aren't going to matter too much anyways, but this and this is your value. Oh, we can't see wrong streak. Here, real quick. So like 99,760 and 97,755 is your new T value area high and T value area low. Well, we'll cover it tomorrow in the morning. Have a great night, y'all. I love y'all, man. Hey, longers, I'm rooting for you. Shorters, I'm rooting for you. Bulls, Bears, we're all Lions. Sato, tell them what happens if you're not subscribed to Hujushin.